it now only shows the notes in that scale.
Keep it real, I'm independent, I don't need no deal. I'm jaws on the beat, I got flow that kills. Do my thing with a few G's, Lauren Hill.
We are now in Logic, and what I'm going to do is show you a couple of ways that we can move scale in the piano roll, snap it to other scales, and always lock it into what we're after, and then create chords and melodies a really easy way from that. First thing we need to do is just create ourselves a new loop. If anyone wonders, the piano sound I'm using, someone will likely ask, it is the Waves Grand Rhapsody. I think it's one of the best piano sounds at this kind of price point. I'll link it below in case you want to download that. So we're just going to create a new loop in here and just drag that out. Two ways we can get into this. We can double click or we can press E, and that's going to bring up the piano roll for us. Okay, so let's say that we don't know our scales. Well, we know that C major is always going to be all of the C notes, right? So we could put in something across all of the notes, and that's going to be an octave there in C major. That's covering all the notes we would use. Now, if we wanted to move those, so it was going to be in, say, F major, for example, what we could do is highlight those notes, use the scale quantize on the left here, and just tip into F like that. Let's say we want it to go into F sharp and a minor scale. So it's now giving us an F sharp minor scale. And it has jumped one note up an octave. As long as you bring everything back within that octave, you can move the note around and just rescale the individual note and it will find the right place for you. So what we can do here is copy all of these. We're going to hold Option and just drag it up. And we can see it starts on the C sharp now. And we've now got 2 octaves. We'll do the same again. Cool. So now we've got 4 octaves worth in that F sharp minor scale. Now here comes the magic trick, because it's not that useful having all of those in there, right? We are going to just reduce them down. So they're just kind of a little tap just over here. We're going to use this key just here, this button. It's called collapse mode. It now only shows the notes in that scale. So if we just move our loop, say a bar forward, and just drag this out so it's still the same length. Now any note that we press in here is going to be within that 4 octave scale in F sharp minor. Now you're thinking, okay, but I don't really know my chords in this kind of scale. Well, really simple now, because we've condensed everything down. As long as you miss every other note, you're always going to build something like a triad up. So if we were to start, say here, F sharp 1, and we skip every other note, we're going to get a triad. So we can very easily start building up different triads just by missing every other note, right? But we can also really flex up, because any note we put in is going to be within the right scale. So we can mix it up a bit. We could miss every other note and then say go 2 up. And we can also go an octave up. Maybe we can reach here. So hopefully you can see how really simple that is. Now the other thing is here, because we've stretched it up an octave, we can have like left hand chords and right hand write as a melody really easy. Because everything's in the same key, we can't really go wrong with what we do. Now, the other way to really get this to work for you is to take the octaves that you've already got and use the same notes within them. So what we can do is highlight the chord, look at the note it leads off. So I led this one off of the F sharp, for example, and we'll just take these 3 notes. We're just going to use a little 3-note melody, bring it up to F sharp, say here, and we're going to use something within these just to make our melody out of. We'll just do a really simple step down melody here. Okay, so that works. So we'll just bump it up an octave by holding Shift and Option Tap up. Now, another way you can find a melody within it is to actually just cut the notes up as well. So if we were to take the whole octave again, bring it up, do T and I, we can kind of cut through it as well in different intervals like that. And very simply just remove notes in different areas. And you get some really sort of classical sounding piano vibes. Now it's all a bit rigid at the minute. What we're going to do is just hit this guy just here, show hide automation, and we want it to be on note velocity. It is by default. And there's a couple of things that we can do. We can individually take the higher notes, bring those down. We can take each individual note and flex it around ever so slightly, or we can take the whole lot like this. After we've adjusted them slightly, go into functions, into MIDI transform, into humanize, and here I'll generally reduce the position down to 0. Velocity 10 will be all right, and length I won't change unless I want to adjust the length of the notes. Hit operate, and that's going to flex about the velocities a little bit. And the last thing that we can do to give it a real more natural feel, we're just going to take a little bit off the end here, just the tiniest amount, and you'll see why in a sec. I'm going to zoom right in on the start by holding Option and mouse wheel in it. If you think how we play it, when we play, naturally the little finger tends to hit first, so this key is probably going to hit first, and the others will follow ever so shortly afterwards. We just stagger them in like that, and we get a more natural lead in. Hear the difference? So that, guys, is my super simple way of building up chords and melodies and getting them to feel natural in Logic in just a couple of minutes. Hope the video was helpful for you, and I will see you guys on the next one.
Keep it real, I'm independent, I don't need no deal. I'm jaws on the beat, I got a flow that kills. Do my ting with a few G's, Lauryn Hill.